Hey everybody, it's Matt from the house, and I'm here with Mike from Thirtytwo, and he's going to give us a little sneak peek of the 22-23 lineup of Thirtytwo snowboard boots. Let's check these things out. All right, first up, we've got the light. This boot is exactly that. It is incredibly light. It is probably the lightest boot in 32's line, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, this thing is insane. JP Walker always has a color every single year, and this year is one of the sickest boots. You ride this boot yourself, don't you?
I do. I am riding that right now.
So this is basically kind of like an all-mountain boot, but maybe for those guys that like a little bit softer kind of a feel.
Absolutely. It's definitely a softer boot with our Comfort Fit liner. Personal preference, I like a softer boot, which is the reason why I'm riding it.
Exactly.
And JP does as well.
Exactly, and that's the big thing is a lot of people think that the soft boot is just for riding park or riding rails, and it's really just personal preference. If you want that nice, easy, smooth feel, then that's where you want that softer boot. All right, and next up we have got one of the best-selling boots in the pretty much history of snowboarding, right?
Pretty much. Definitely in the history of 32.
Yeah, so the 32 Lashed Boot. This boot is a pretty amazing boot. It's been in the lineup. I think the Team Two is the only boot that's actually been in the lineup longer than the Lashed, right? And it's actually pretty cool because it's got these panels on the side, and the laces are actually attached to this panel, but the panel is actually sewn in down a little bit lower. So when you lace this thing up tight, you lash your foot into the boot. Bunch of light bulbs just went off in everybody's head. The Lashed. So all mountain, go anywhere, do anything boot. I really like the outsole on this one. This used to be on the Team Two, and they brought it down to the Lashed for a couple of years now, haven't they?
Correct. Added a little bit of rubber pods on there for a little extra durability and grip.
But it's still got a lot of the foam on there too, so it's still super, super lightweight.
Absolutely.
Great mid-flexing, all mountain, go anywhere, do anything boot. It's soft enough to ride park, it's stiff enough to ride in the trees, and everywhere in between. Okay, and with the success of the Lashed and the standard lace version, a lot of people do like the Boa Boots, so there is a dual Boa version of the Lashed. You got one of the best-selling boots in the market. You want to make lacing systems for everybody. And this one's a pretty cool one too because they're not actually doing the cables like a lot of the Boa systems do.
Correct. It's a New England rope company that actually has the para rope that's used in place of the cable. It's more durable and it is more flexible, lighter weight.
Definitely, and that's a really cool thing about it too is that a lot of people don't realize that if you do put those steel cables in the boot, it can significantly stiffen the boot, and just switching over to those Vermont ropes instead of the cable actually makes the flex of this boot closer to the lace version as well. All right, and next up we've got kind of a cool boot. It's kind of a very, very unique boot. This is the Bendito, so this is the second year for it. So give us the kind of rundown on the Bendito and exactly what it's for.
So this is meant to be a soft surf style boot. You can see the flex point that we did put in right in the tongue as well as on the upper of the boot here. It's in collaboration with Chris Christensen, who's a surfboard shaper, and that's where the design came from, as it was meant to be that surfy feeling, cruising type of boot. Really an all-mountain boot, and again, going back to the personal preference of somebody that's gonna like that softer feeling, looser feeling boot in your bindings, no matter what kind of riding you're doing.
All right, and next up, we've got a boot that's been in 32's lineup longer than any other boot, the Team Two, and this is the double Boa version. So they make a lace version and they make the double Boa version. This is a pretty cool boot just because it is an all-mountain boot. It is a little bit on the stiffer side, but just like with the softer boots, not just for park, this is a stiffer boot that's not just for free riding or all mountain riding. So Scott Stevens, this is his favorite boot.
Obviously, he's a versatile rider and he rides every type of terrain. However, his personal preference is liking a boot that's a little bit stiffer.
It's basically a boot that you can ride this thing anywhere. You can ride it in the streets, you can ride it in the powder, you can ride it everywhere in between, but it does have that sturdier feel. We got a little bit sturdier materials on the outside of the boot. We've also got an upgrade on the liner. We've got an upgrade in the footbed. So it's basically giving you a little extra support, a little extra hold, pretty much everywhere. The look on this thing is pretty cool too. It's kind of a thing they've always done every single year with this, right?
Correct. A little more athletic inspired, a little more fresh look to it.
Definitely a super, super dope boot. Really, really good boot that if you want a boot that's gonna last you a long time. And again, something that can ride everywhere. You can always loosen up the top, have a little softer feel, or you can crank it down and still get that nice stiff free ride style feel. All right, and last up, we have got a pretty rad boot. This is actually the Jones Team Two Xlt. So this is pretty cool. It's based off of the Team 2 boot, but it's actually been souped up, and obviously there is the Jones boot itself in the lineup, which is an insane split boarding boot. I've actually ridden it myself, and it's actually a pretty cool boot. I didn't split board in it, but I just figured I had the chance to ride it. And I thought I was pretty impressed with it too, just as like a regular all-mountain boot. But they basically wanted to have something that was a little bit more affordable and something you could still split board in and have all those features of the split board boot, just not quite at the price of a boot that's, you know, specifically for split boarding.
Correct. And what Jeremy wanted to do with this as well is his MTB boot was meant to be his backcountry boot, and this was meant to be his resort boot.
Cool, so we basically have taken the Team 2, it's the standard lace version. They've added the cover on it so you can hike in this thing and your laces aren't gonna freeze up. Also help keep your feet a little bit warmer. Obviously got the power strap around the top, and then you can actually loosen that up, and that basically gives you this walk mode in the back here, so it's a lot easier if you are split boarding in it to walk around. So then also on the back of here, we've got an extra little lip, and what's that for?
That is Crampon Compatible.
Cool. So this thing, obviously it's not quite the full-on Jones split boarding boot, but it is fully capable of getting into some gnarly conditions. They've actually made it so you can't put the crampons on there to get on those harder, icier, steeper conditions where you're gonna need that extra grip. So right off the bat, a lot of people think that this boot can't go where the Jones boot can, and it 100% can get there. It just, again, has a few less features from the MTB model. All right, Mike, it's good to see you.
Great seeing you as well.
And thanks for giving us a little sneak peek of the 22-23 lineup from 32. That was a lot of numbers thrown at everybody at once. But if you got any questions about the boots in this video or any of the 32 boots at thehouse.com, leave some comments down below. We're on there every single day trying to answer your questions. We want to make sure we get you to some rad gear, but most importantly, we want to make sure it's going to fit you and your riding style. Also, make sure to like, subscribe, definitely get that notification bell on too so you can find out when all the new videos drop. And no matter what kind of boot you like that softer boot, you like that stiffer boot, grab yourself a pair of 32s and get out and ride. Because any day of riding is a good day of riding.